Bibliosophie. Hello, good morning. My name is Sophie. Welcome or welcome back. This week is going to be kind of long and potentially momentous and certainly emotionally something for me. It is day 28 of the cell transplant therapy that I started last month. So I'm graduating of sorts. I'm gonna go into the hospital for a number of hours very soon. Actually, I'm gonna have my typical checkup, check-in, blood draw, probably get my PICC line removed, and I'm also getting a PET scan for the first time in a little over a month to see how things are progressing. I'm not gonna have the full rundown of those results for a couple of days, so that's also going to be a little bit difficult. But in general, I'm just expecting this week to be full of very literal waiting and then also some more kind of metaphorical waiting. So what am I bringing with me for this long day? My journal. Am I gonna write? Who can say, but I'm gonna try to do so. I have been trying to write basically daily. I'm also bringing On the Calculation of Volume, Part 2. I read Part 1 a couple of months ago and liked it, so I decided yesterday to buy myself Volume 2. I figured it would be a good accompaniment today because it is engrossing, but also is written, presumably like the first one, yes, in little kind of spurts. So I think this will be probably a pretty good waiting room companion. Seems also appropriate. There's a lot of liminal space and kind of limbo in this work, so it seems appropriate to a waiting room. I'm also going to bring La Musique et l'Ineffable, the Music and the Ineffable by the French philosopher Vladimir Jankélévitch. It's very short. I will probably talk about this with my mother. So I'm giving myself options. Heading out, here's the fit check. Hello, welcome to my barium sulfate review channel. Banana flavor, ain't it? 1 out of 10. So I am feeling really erratic and insane this week. I'm having a hard time. I have been reading On the Calculation of Volume, Part 2. I'm really enjoying this. I enjoyed the first one and I'm really enjoying this one. It feels very appropriate to my current moment. The repetitiveness, of course. This is a recurring November day, which is itself kind of right in between season. It's kind of like late autumn, not quite winter, and the seasonal change is a theme of this particular volume, wherein our main character is looking for the structure of seasons, of the familiar, and so she's building her own seasonal year by moving around geographically. So it has definitely gotten me thinking about the ways in which I too manufacture normalcy in new ways currently, and how I always have done. The relationship to family also in this one feels very poignant to me right now. So I'm about halfway through. It's a very quick and compelling read. I have done very little reading. I did little reading on Monday, and I think almost none yesterday. I did some last night, which was helpful. Speaking of structure, I'm trying to structure myself a little bit. I'm trying to force myself kind of out of my shell in a way that I physically can. That's it for now. I sang an audition today and I looked like a real cutie. I finished On the Calculation of Volume a couple nights ago in the middle of the night in a truly heinous bit of insomnia. I don't think it contributed to my anxiety, but I think I was in an appropriate kind of headspace to receive it in my own kind of repetitious unknowingness of what is going on for me. So it was kind of an appropriate time. I liked this. Yeah. I mean, the short review is that I'm really glad I read this. It is shockingly compelling for something that is just the same day repeated over and over and over again. This ends on a cliffhanger, and so I'm invested. I want to read the next volume. I do like some of the kind of emotional and philosophical considerations that it has. This volume in particular gets at something that I have also sort of realized viscerally for myself in the past 6 months or so, the kind of intersection between time and space. I've written about it a fair amount. I think I've talked about it to a certain extent on this channel as well, and how much waiting and repetition and how those things are similar or dissimilar in some ways, how those tend to contribute to the transformation of time into volume, into physical space in some ways. She talks about it somewhat differently than I've been thinking about it, but that, I think we're getting to the reason why this is on the calculation of volume, and the second half of this book really gets into the kind of volume of things, the container of things, the container that is a day and then objects. The other thing I like about this book in particular, and the series so far as I know it, is actually the way in which objects are treated and act or don't act. Because, of course, this is all very fantastical and it's not explained. There's no coherent reasoning behind why this one character is reliving the same day over and over again. And there is also no coherent explanation as to what she gets to take with her physically from one experience of the day to the next, because she doesn't kind of come back in a completely blank slate all the time. We don't reset. She does progress. She gets to move places. She gets to add things to her kind of whereabouts. So it's very mysterious. It's mysterious to her as well. And I'm interested in the kind of life of objects, unknowable life of objects that make up this world. With that also in mind, there is the notion already in the first book and repeated in this second book of what she is doing to the world, consuming it, but then always reliving. Her consumption of the world does seem to have an effect on it. So it's just, there's some various interesting things about the kind of weirdness that seems to rule over this particular universe. This afternoon, I also started Katie Kitamura's Audition. This came out a couple of weeks ago at the beginning of the month, and a lot of people have been reading it, talking about it, so I've been interested. This is following an actor who is kind of in between phases in her life, both personally and professionally even. So she's kind of in an in-between state, I would say. I've only read the first 2.5 chapters, but I'm enjoying it so far. I don't know where it's going, really. I mean, we're delving very much into relationships to people, interpersonal relationships across generations, and kind of in memory, I think. Performance, I think it is key that she is an actor, and so the kind of performance of self as well is, I suspect, going to be an element, certainly as it relates to being a woman and being an Asian woman, and the kind of interplay between experience and your personal experience with or of others. But I'm actually kind of giving you a little bit of a soup of guesses that I have, because I'm not entirely sure where it's going to go plot-wise, and I might not even tell you. I probably won't tell you, in fact, because I think it is nice to just read books without knowing exactly what's going to happen, like this. I started reading Audition on my way to an audition, if you can believe it. In fact, yes, I had an audition this afternoon. I haven't sung an audition in a really long time, but I was invited to sing for an upcoming production, sing an audition for an upcoming production that's taking place in a little while. So it was so much fun. It worked out well in the schedule of my current treatment, because I still have to be very careful, but I don't have to be quite as monitored and like hyper bubbly as I have been for the past basically 5 weeks. So I can inch out into the world a little bit and carefully right now, and it did me so much good. Believe it or not, when you are an artist, and a collaborative artist at that, it subtly weighs on you to not do your art and not collaborate with other people for a really long time. I know, who would have thunk it? But so that was very kind of soul feeding. The week has been variously weird and frenzied, and also just kind of very hard. I teased that out at the very beginning of this video. So I had a PET scan on Monday, and the results are not bad, but they're not overwhelmingly positive. So I'm gonna start another round of treatments next month, and that's okay. It's really okay, actually. This is not going to be a huge deal, but it's just, you know, your girl is tired of this. So at this point, I think I'm out of the nadir of depression and back into, you know, okay, well, move on. Let's just do it. It's fine. But it's been a week. Yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now. I mentioned him briefly at the beginning of the week, but I've been reading Jankélévitch, the French philosopher and musicologist. I have been reading him, not surprisingly, as part of my dissertation writing. I'm currently trying to write about embodiment in performance a lot. My thesis is about the transmutation of poetry into music through the means of the performer's body. So Jankélévitch, who writes a lot about instant and charm and aura and Ineffable, both of these books, Musique and the Ineffable, which has been translated into English, and Je-ne-sais-quoi, presque-rien, which has not been translated into English, I believe, which translates to, well, Je-ne-sais-quoi, right? Je-ne-sais-quoi we use also in English as well. So that kind of, I don't know what quality, and presque-rien, almost nothing, both circle around similar themes of this sort of magic in culture, in existence, in things, in philosophy, in thought, the kind of unspeakable, unutterable, unqualifiable, digging into that. And that has a lot to do with also kind of presence and presentation as well. So it's very interesting for me as a performer. He speaks about it overtly in terms of that quality in music making, music receiving. But it's been interesting to me. If you like Clarice Lispector, by the way, if you watch my channel and you also like Clarice Lispector, you might also like Vladimir Jankélévitch. I mention him first because I definitely am thinking about some of these aspects in having just finished Audition. Because in Audition, we are also dealing with performance and performances, multiple performances, and there is also so much the unspeakable as a through line. To me, it seems that Kitamura has rendered the ineffable into something beyond charm and aura, into a curdled quality. What happens when the kind of ineffable quality between people and in performance and in the charm that we have on people, or that we feel emanate from people, curdles and turns dark and turns very kind of inward and twists and turns. So that is an element that I can't help but think about in the way that that story progresses, and really does kind of infiltrate. There is a deeply unsettling undertone to the novel that continues to grow, and I couldn't quite figure out why, really. And then it kind of becomes clearer. But for a while, from the majority of the novel, there's nothing overtly bad about it, but there's this sort of icky spine tingle that arises, in my opinion. It's an interesting novel. I liked it. I think I know some people are dissatisfied with it. For me, it quite worked. I would be really curious to know if you've read it, if you found it confusing, bewildering, interesting, all of the above, boring even potentially. Yeah, it for me, it works. It makes sense. I'm not going to tell you what happens. I think it's worth not knowing, but it made me think a lot about, actually, the word salad of predictive thoughts that I had about it kind of, yes, make very good sense. And performance and the multiple selves of performance, of incarnation, that's a word that I've been writing a lot in my own thinking process about my performance. And so, yeah, what does it mean to make a work flesh? And if you are incarnating a work, what is actually what is the God that you have summoned? What have you created, and does that need to get exorcised? So yes, those are my thoughts. For now, yeah, thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.